There you go. Tell us about pet sitting.
Well, I'm on a pet sit right now
Mm,
with Finley the golden boy.
okay.
He has his own Instagram. It's a 10-day pet sit while his mom and dad are in Mauritius, which is awesome for them.
Oh,
And
great.
the reason why I got this pet sit is because they are a photography client of mine, actually.
Mm, mm.
And she was asking, because she's obviously seen a few things in my socials about pet sitting and things like that. And she was asking if I know a pet sit, and I was like, me.
Me.
So,
Yes.
advantage of having done it this way is that there wasn't an extensive get to know each other period or a meet and greet, which should always happen before a pet sit, because
Mm,
I'd already met them.
mm,
We'd already been in conversation since the beginning of the year, because she was originally going to do a Mother's Day session with me.
mm,
So a very responsible dog mom. Finley didn't have all his vax at the time, so she chose not to come out where the other dogs were in an enclosed space.
mm,
And we had ended up doing a full pet sit, a full photo shoot.
mm,
So as a result, I knew Finley already. I knew the couple already. So that relationship was already set. So
mm,
if
mm,
it had been a complete stranger, then the starting way to go would always be a meet and greet,
mm,
for the sitter to come into the home, come and meet the pet, preferably in a neutral space, because not all animals are okay with a stranger being in the home.
okay.
So meeting,
Mm,
yeah, it has actually happened a number of times. I did a meet and greet prior to a shoot once. We went to do shoots in
mm,
the home, and one of their dogs was home reactive, if that makes sense. I had shot them before. He was all over me and licking me and loving on me and everything. But when I walked into the home,
mm,
he is very
mm,
reactive. He was very aggressive. So
mm,
meeting your pet sitting client or your pet sitter for a meet and greet at a neutral location that's not necessarily your home is always a good idea. If that meet and
mm,
greet goes
mm,
well, then obviously you come into the home, and then you start discussing all of the things that you need to know. So I have like a booking sheet, a booking form that
mm,
asks all of the
mm,
random questions, as
mm,
well as all of the obvious stuff. So like who's your emergency contact, your vet, is your dog chipped? And people often ask me why it's important for their dog to be chipped for a
mm,
pet sit, for a pet sit purpose.
mm,
So if I take Finley out for a walk and he pulls off his lead and he disappears, because he is a golden and he is only 8 months old, yesterday turned
mm.
8 months old.
Oh,
So
well,
if he pulls
yes.
off his lead and he bolts, then I need to know that he's chipped, and I need to know where to find
Mm,
who his chip is registered with, so I know where
mm,
to find him if somebody happens to find him. So it's those, like,
mm,
it's a very
mm,
random thing to ask, because it actually has nothing to do with the sit itself. But if you
mm,
require a
mm.
walk as part of your sit, if your dog needs to be walked as part of the sit, it's very important information to have, actually, that not a lot of people,
Yes.
owners and pet sitters, even think about.
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
those
So how
those
does it
are random
work with
things.
like a pet sit? Yeah, with like a pet sit, would you have like different levels of service? So depending on what the customer required, a walk, you might have to walk. But how does that work? And do you agree that with the client, obviously beforehand, what the expectations are?
Yeah, so everything for me, everything is in my booking sheets. It's in my booking form.
Mm,
Uh, but those are generally questions that I ask at any rate.
mm,
So,
mm.
and something equally random, like, do your plants need to be watered? When is bin day? It's little
That's
things.
yeah. Yes.
Because
Alarm, how does your alarm work?
the alarm is a pet peeve of mine, because most people, number one, they'll give you the alarm code, so you set and
Yes.
put off the alarm and whatever, but they don't alert their alarm company that somebody else is going to be here. So if the alarm goes off during the night, which it has in the past at a few houses,
Yeah.
the alarm goes off during the night, and the call goes to the owner and not to me. So it's 3 o'clock in the morning, the dogs start freaking out, and the alarm goes off. The emergency response immediately calls, because very few people have a landline these days. So emergency
Mm,
response calls the owner and not me. And then it becomes
yeah.
like a whole to do, and then everybody panics, and it's a whole drama. So things
Yes, yes,
like
yes, I
that,
can imagine.
it's the requirement or the request to the
Mm,
owners is also your alarm code, your alarm company, the alarm company's name,
mm,
so that they
mm.
know. And the password, if the alarm company calls you, what's the password?
Yes. Or maybe can they set up like a special password for you when they notify the company, and then they set up a special password for you so they know. Okay.
Yeah, so there's,
I
and I
know.
mean, a lot of things on their phones have the alarm system on their phones as well. So they're also made aware if you switch on or off the alarm. But like at the dogs, so I was at a sit, there was a 5-day sit at a very large home with 4 small dogs. And the
Yeah.
owners didn't tell me that the dogs have a tendency to walk around during the night. So that I need to close my bedroom door or I need to close the interleading door. And the dogs
Mm.
set off the alarm at like 2 in the morning. Yeah, I was.
Oh no.
It was terrifying. It was terrifying, and
Yeah.
I eventually, luckily, I had the number. They had called the owners. I had the number. I called the emergency response. Yeah, it was a whole thing. So it's these
Yeah.
things that, like, it's second nature to you. The dogs walk around. Okay, so you know what to do, but because it's second nature
Mm.
to you, you don't always realize as the owner what you need to impart that information to your pet sitter.
Yeah. So even if you think it's like really not a big deal, your pet sitter needs to know it. If the dog is, scared of something, or they start barking at 4 o'clock for no reason, or, bin days or whatever, anything that triggers the dog, or,
Correct.
yeah, just their routine in detail, so that, I mean, the purpose of the pet sitter is supposedly to keep the environment as natural to the dog
Correct.
with as little disruption.
Correct.
So every single detail is so, so important.
And it's these
Okay.
little,
So,
which is
yeah,
why I try to tell my owners as far in advance as possible, start looking at your routine now already. Your pet sit may only been a month, but start paying
yeah.
attention to what your routine is now so that you can make notes.
Mm,
And I'm
mm,
I'm
mm,
very open to send me brain farts on WhatsApp. Like if there's things that you know is it's not listed in the booking form or whatever, your dog has to be scratched behind his ears 4 times and left and right paw before he takes his food. Like everybody has
So, on that note, what is the most random thing that you've ever been asked to do on a pet sit?
so
Do I
I don't know,
want
but
to know?
um, am I allowed to talk about the weirdest thing I've needed to do? Not necessarily random things I've been asked to do, but the weirdest thing I've needed to do is an express of a Vorsi dog who is lame from the waist down. So he's paralyzed from the waist down
Mm,
because of spinal injury. He's perfectly fine.
mm,
He's living life and he runs around like a headless chicken. Um,
mm,
but as part of the pet sit, I need to express him urinally and anally
mm.
because
And
he needs that
yeah,
during the day.
yeah. So was that something that you had to practice with the owner there before? Mm,
Correct. She showed me what
mm,
to do. She explained to me, and it's a very weird thing to have to do. It's kind of like when
mm,
you never ridden a horse before, and you know that you need to kind of kick the horse in like in the leash to get the horse to go. It's not abuse. That's how they are trained, and
mm,
expressing a dog is definitely something to get used to. So I actually went and read up on it myself.
mm.
When found out quite a bit about Dachshund's dog anatomy. So that I knew what
Yes.
to do. I
Oh,
knew where the bladder
oh,
was and
bless
where I
him.
need to push
Yeah,
properly and things
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
And of course, luckily,
So,
well, another important thing is if that is a random, if there are those random requests that you have for your pet
mm,
sitter or about your animal,
mm,
make sure that your pet sitter has all the tools necessary to be able to perform that. So not
mm,
just verbally and showing, but I have that set. I had cleaning materials put out ready on the counter for me. It was only
mm,
a 1 day visit.
mm,
Or every now and again I need to go for just for an hour
mm,
to let them out to potty and everything. But that
mm.
owner put out all of the cleaning materials, all of the treats, anything that I need, mop, bucket, soap,
Okay.
gloves, the works.
Oh,
So that she is
okay, great.
setting me up for success so that I can set them up for success.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so there's obviously different levels of pet sitting. So you might just have to pop in for a little while, or you stay over. What are the what are the rates roughly?
So,
Just as a guideline.
so the rates definitely vary between whether you are an individual or whether you're working with an agency. An
Okay.
agency does tend to be a little bit more pricey, but in my experience thus far, I was working with an agency. I was working by myself. Then
Mm,
I worked with an agency for about a year and a half, and now I'm by myself again. Um, and my hour rates, like my it's generally called pet au pair. So you go in for an
mm,
hour, check on everything, make sure everybody's okay. My hourly
mm,
rate was substantially more than the agency's hourly rate,
mm,
but my overnight
mm,
rate was less. So
mm,
it
mm.
could range, an hourly rate could range anything from 50 Rand, 100 to 150 Rand an hour.
Mm,
Also, it very
mm,
much depends on where you are versus where your pet sitter is based, because you
okay.
need to take that time, travel time, and the cost of travel into account. So generally, you'll find pet sitters will
Okay.
work in specific areas.
Mm,
But
mm,
for longer sits or overnights, generally the travel fee will be less, but then your overnight rate may be more. And
yeah.
things are, when you're working
Mm,
with an individual, things are open to negotiation to a point. Obviously, don't lowball a pet sitter who you are trusting with your home and your dog's life.
yes, because there's a couple of things there. And one is, if you find a pet sitter that's compatible with you, that's reliable, you want to keep that person. You know, and
Yes.
yes, because they know your dog and you don't have to go through that whole process again. So
Yeah.
building that relationship and maintaining that relationship is really important.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you are on an overnight pet sit, um, does the owner include the food for the pet sitter, or is that something you have to bring your own food? How does that work?
So that varies very much. It varies from owner to owner, from home to home. On
Mm,
a
mm,
on a short sit, generally my owners are maybe an overnight or a 2 night. The owners who I've worked with have said, "Listen, there's the cupboard, there's the fridge. Go nuts. Do whatever you want." The
mm,
sit that I'm
mm,
actually the couple was so sweet. They don't eat sweets or candies or fast food or anything, and they actually stocked up an entire cupboard of chips and chocolates. And they're like, "Here, we got this for you." So yeah, that helps a lot in the wee hours. But for the most part, on a
mm,
long set, I will bring all of my own things. I
mm,
bring my own coffee because I drink specific coffee. I bring my own sugar because I drink a lot of coffee. My own milk
mm,
because I drink a lot of coffee. But I bring my own food because I don't want to have a situation where I'm at a sit and I'm eating literally everything that's in the fridge over a 10-day or a 3-week, which I've done before. And
mm,
then comes home to nothing. There's empty
mm,
cupboards in the fridge. So
mm, mm, mm,
yes, goes my coffee.
mm,
So with the result, I make sure that I check a 60/60, because obviously one of the random things that people need to be told, your pet sitter needs to be told, is how long can your dog be left alone
okay.
unattended?
Yes,
Very
yes,
important.
yes.
So for a
Mm,
lot of animals, it's a very short time. It could be an hour, it could be 2 hours. For others, it could
mm,
be 6 hours. They're fine alone at home the entire day because the owners work during the day anyway, so they're used to that.
mm,
So with the result,
mm,
if I'm with a pet set that I can't leave the animal for more than an hour, let's say, that's not enough
mm,
time for me to go necessarily to the shops, travel
mm,
to the shops, do what I need to do, and travel back or run an errand or whatever.
mm,
So
mm,
I make sure, take a 60/60. I bring my own food, I bring my own coffee, my own everything. But there
mm.
are people who, like one of the people who's online at the moment, made sure that there was food in the fridge and there was candy snacks and there was like all sorts of things as well for a
Oh,
pet sit, and that was
yay.
nice. So yeah.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, I love surprises, opening the cupboard and there's, woohoo, look at all this for me.
Yeah,
It's like
if,
babysitting when we were kids.
if there's ever
Yeah.
anything that I have that I see or that I've found accidentally, I don't open cupboards unless I'm told that I'm allowed to. Generally, I don't
Mm,
open cupboards at all. Unless I'm looking for
mm,
a can opener. Please have a can opener for your pet sitter.
Okay.
We all look for
Because that's
cameras.
yeah, because that's one of the things, is your privacy as a pet owner. Because some random person, you've met them, you've introduced them to your dogs, and now they live in your house. So they must give you house rules, what you're allowed to do, where you're allowed to go and look, and things like that.
Especially if you're dealing with a new pet sit, and oddly enough, I was thinking about how to word this morning. Stop licking the couch. the, the licky mat is finished.
Yeah, it's probably finished. Yeah.
I was thinking about wording this morning. This would be, having a pet sit in your home is very akin to having a new housekeeper, for example. There has to be an element of trust on both sides. So the trust on our part is that you're not going to have some hidden camera in the bathroom and the bedroom and the lounge looking at you while you traipse around, in your pajamas and half your bum hanging out. That's our privacy that we need to trust that you're not going to encroach on. From the owner's privacy point of view, anybody worth their salt knows to not go and scratch in somebody's cupboards and whatever. But it's just having a new house. There has to be an element of trust. You lay down whatever house rules there are. Those may change with time. But like with you're leaving a stranger in your home, and even with somebody, with people who I've worked with now for an extensive period, if you want something to be looked in or opened, or a room to be opened, lock the door, lock it away. If that's something you are worried about as an owner, then don't leave that onus on the pet sitter that I was looking for the vacuum cleaner and I walked into your bedroom. It's because it actually happens regularly. There's a multiple room household and I'm looking for a broom or a mop or a vacuum cleaner or something. Ugh, the ball is under the couch. So, and then
retrievers love balls.
I have to open cupboards. I have to open doors. And I mean, unfortunately, it's just, I just have to do it. So if you're not wanting somebody in your private spaces, in your bedroom, in your bathroom, whatever, then lock the door. Make sure that the door's closed, or at least inform the sitter there's nothing in there for you. The door is to remain closed. As a rule, at any rate, when I'm pet sitting, I make sure that any rooms that are unneeded or the dog shouldn't go into, I make sure that all of those doors in the house is closed anyway, are closed. Because if something has to...
The other thing, I suppose, that you need to know is, is the dog allowed on the couch? Is he allowed on the bed?
Correct.
Because I know my feelings and I'm happy to have the dog there, but not everyone is.
Correct. So it's a common question. It is actually a question that's in my booking form. Are there any areas where the dog is not allowed? Because everyone's different. So there's been 2 different homes that I was in where the dog is allowed on a particular couch or a particular seat. And that's it. So anywhere else in the house, but in the living room or the living space, there is the dog's chair or the dog's couch. The dog knows that is their couch, but of course, like with all animals and toddlers, they will take chances. So it's up to you to know what is allowed and what isn't. So I have the question actually my booking form.
Yes. Great.
Very odd, but the ones that don't appreciate it.
Yeah, and you being an experienced pet sitter as well, you've got a better idea of questions to ask if the information isn't volunteered upfront. So so that prepares you. What are things that pet owners need to look out for in a pet sitter? Things that a pet sitter should know, or qualified, or qualification, or I don't know, or what should they look out for?
So as much as what I would love for there to be some kind of an actual formal qualification for pet sitting, there's a couple of random here and there. You can do some like basic pet first aid and things like that, but there's no one that's really governing the ins and outs of it, basic etiquette and things. So the very first thing to look out for is references. If the person is a pet sitter as a side hustle, then you may not see it on their socials or things like that. But if they're running a business, whether it's a one-man band or not, you're looking for some kind of social proof. So references is a big thing. But for the pet owners, one thing to be very, very mindful of, you can ask your pet sitter for references, but you cannot ask them to give you the numbers of their clients, because that is a POPIA violation. That is a privacy part of your other clients as the pet sitter. So I've had earlier this year, I had a situation while I was managing a couple of pet sitters. I had a situation where a new client was requesting references and said he didn't believe and didn't have faith in a written reference, like a text message reference or something that was on that could be written by anybody, which I agree, and it happened. So,
but then it's your right to walk away as the pet owner. If you're not comfortable with the reference, then don't pursue it. Find someone else.
Correct, but it is also within your rights as the owner to ask for verbal references. So in that case, I advise the pet sitter to contact his previous sits and say, listen, could you send me a voice note with a reference that I can, or would you be comfortable if I passed your number to the new client?
Yes, absolutely.
So,
yes.
Owner, it is up to you, it is your right to either walk away from a sit if they don't provide references, you're not comfortable with it, or ask for the references, to ask for verbal references, and it's up to the sitter to have the etiquette to be able to communicate with their other with their previous clients. But references.
Okay, so if you okay, so if you have to give one top tip for a pet owner, what would it be?
Book early. Like really,
yeah, especially now with Christmas. And I mean, when should they start booking? June?
Yes, like I'm not even kidding.
Really?
For for anything over December and January, like August is your absolute latest, like absolute latest. The majority of my colleagues have been fully booked for December and January since August already. Because a lot of people long vacations, a week plus, or they go over Christmas and New Year's. So there's sitters, qualified, reliable sitters. There's not enough sitters to go around. And if you are booking late, then you are left with a situation of either not being 100% comfortable with somebody you have to leave, at which that's just a disaster. Or you need to make sure that you're booking early. So whenever you book any kind of vacation, any kind of trip, weekend away, overnight, anything, especially for animals that can't be left alone for more than an hour, if you're doing something, you're on and we have one client who does this regularly. They do a lot of functions, so they'll go out 4 hours in the evening, so it'll be like from 7 until like 12. They'll go out for an extended somebody to be with the dogs for that period. You book that like way, and make sure also bearing in mind you must give your times, so you can't expect you can ask, but you cannot expect that every pet sitter is going to be comfortable driving home long distance at 1 in the morning when you come. So make sure that you're communicating that. But you have to, top tip is book early. Book as early as you possibly can. So there's a comment here that says, surely when they book their trip, that should be part of their booking. If you book your trip, you book your sitter. It's exactly the same thing. The same as transport, the same as what you have to book your hotel, whatever the case may be, you have to book your Uber. Like you make sure you early. It should be one thing.
So what about a backup sitter? Because obviously, people get sick, things happen. So you would recommend people have a backup sitter, especially if they're going away on a long holiday or a long trip?
So generally, and I say we as if I've been like I'm a tenured sitter because I've been sitting for a year and a half. A lot of sitters that I've been sitting for 5-10 years. They've been doing this for a very, very long time. because of my work as a photographer with dogs, I have a unique position to have a better understanding of the pets prior to a sit. So from that point of view, I find myself a more experienced sitter, not from the sit, but because of my experience with animals. But as a backup, the sitters generally, we all kind of know each other, or a bunch of us know each other. So if you know one sitter, that sitter will know other sitters. I'm currently in a WhatsApp group where I've got a bunch of colleagues who all I know through previous agency. And if there's something that I can't attend to or they can't attend to, we put it in the WhatsApp group and see who else is available. But that again is where booking early comes in, because if one person's not available, chances are Easter weekend,
everyone.
like it's it's hectic.
Yeah. All right. I think,
but it's good to make sure that, especially for a longer sit, as you say, that there is somebody that's a backup. But you ask your sitter.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, Lee. I think we've covered everything. But yeah,
I do.
If there are any questions, they can drop us a DM and we can shoot off answers on a DM.
Yeah.
We can easily do that. I will try and save this live as well. With my technology, oh my goodness. But yeah, so we'll definitely save it somewhere.
On my side, I'm very open about when I pet sit and the struggles that I have and things like that. I talk about them very openly. So the people who follow me on my photography page, generally they will send me questions or they'll send me a WhatsApp and whatnot, and they'll tell me all about those things, and then ask me, and we go from there. So luckily there's not a lot of questions in the live because people have been asking me questions privately.
Yes, okay, no, that's great. But yeah, at least they know they can have access either to you or to me. Before we go, you worked on a really cool project tell us a bit about that.
So very, very quickly, the calendar of the year is called Ripped and Rescued. It's all over.
And we all love looking at beautiful dogs, eh?
Beautiful, beautiful dogs. Such handsome dogs. With only a bow tie or a bandana on most of them.
Oh.
So yeah, the Ripped and Rescued calendar, a lot of people have been noticing, because they've been engaging with my calendar content, a lot of people have suddenly got the Australian Firefighters calendar content on their feeds. So I've been getting a lot of those reels and things like that. So Australian Firefighters calendar is an institute of 40 plus years. They've been doing those calendars and they do a whole series of them. This is the South African version, the very first Ripped and Rescued calendar. We had 12 years, all beautifully ripped, and we had 12 dogs from 11 welfares who are all available for adoption. They're in the calendar. The calendar is ready to go. I am currently taking pre-sale orders for 200 ranch until the 1st of November. After the 1st of November, 250. And collections are in northern and southern suburbs. All the details are in the post in my feed. But
yeah, so they can just WhatsApp you if they want to order it.
They can DM me if they want to order, WhatsApp, all of those things. But the goal is 440 calendars. So we need to get it done.
Okay. Good. I'm sure you will.
Doggos.
Oh, bless you. All righty. But thank you very much, Lee, for giving up your time and for telling us about pet sitting. And if anyone wants more information, they can either DM me or you, and they can go and read your beautiful article as well in the October issue. Great stuff. Go and enjoy the weekend now.
Have a good weekend. Thanks so much.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.